Banyak macam ni.
Spreading the news.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, dear participants, fellow teachers and lecturers. Welcome to our 5th webinar series entitled Raising Bilingual Children in the Digital Era, brought to you by English Department, Faculty of Languages and Arts, Universitas Negeri Surabaya. I'm Eva Rahmawati, your moderator for today. Before we begin, please allow me to welcome Vice Dean of Students Affairs, Bapak Safiul Anam, Ph.D., who has been so kind to join us today to open this webinar. And now I'd like to invite all participants to sing our national anthem, Indonesia Raya, followed by Mars Unesa. Okay, thank you, dear participants. Now, Bapak Ibu, to begin our session, I'd like to invite Bapak Safiul Anam, Ph.D., to officially open this webinar. Bapak Safi, are you with us?
Yep, I am, bro.
Okay, thank you. Bapak Safi, time is yours, please.
Thank you, Bu Eva. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to you all, distinguished participants and my colleagues, the English department of Unesa. It is a good pleasure for me to extend my warm wishes and welcome all the participants on behalf of the Faculty of Languages and Arts. I also want to say thanks to the English department, especially the committee of this virtual seminar for your hard work to make the series of seminar happen. And I know that preparing a long series of this virtual seminar, if I'm not mistaken, 8, 9 seminars, virtual seminar, definitely is very taxing. And I also have to say thanks to Pak Slamet Setiawan, Ph.D, and Lina for being the speakers of today's seminar. Well, Bapak Ibu, today's virtual seminar is the fifth of the 9 series, the 9 seminar held by the English department, and it takes a very interesting topic, raising bilingual children in the digital era. I believe that taking part in this seminar, we can find new ideas, insights, theoretical, empirically about all the challenges and opportunities of how we raise bilingual children. And I'm very confident that this virtual seminar can be a good platform for us to exchange ideas and also share good practice of raising bilingual children. Just to remind all the participants that because this is part of the series seminar, I encourage you all to join the upcoming seminar held by the English department. That's all. I wish you all very successful virtual seminar and fruitful discussion. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Safi, for your warm welcome and for officially opening our webinar series today. And now it is time for me, ladies and gentlemen, to remind you of the rules in our webinar series. Allow me to read some of them. Okay, so the first rule is that please help us to make sure that your microphone is always mute, except when you are asked by the moderator to unmute it. During the talks by the presenters, you are encouraged to write down your questions in the chat box using the following format: hashtag ask, participant name, affiliation, and question. For your information, you can also read these rules on your Telegram group. I believe that it is already shared there. And then rule number 3, the exit ticket will serve as the attendance list as well. Only registered participants who are allowed to access the exit ticket link to get e-certificate. Now, the next rules that I'm going to read is going to be very important for you. Bapak Ibu, make sure to fill out the exit ticket and write correct name and email address. And the link to the exit ticket will be shared near the end of the webinar today via Zoom chat room. The link for exit ticket is valid for 1 hour only. That will be until 1 p.m. today. Please check your email within 5 to 10 minutes after you submit the exit ticket. This because the e-certificate will be automatically generated by the system right after you fill your exit ticket and be sent to your email by system as well. As for complaints, as soon as you find trouble with your exit ticket or your e-certificate, please make your complaint right away. A complaint related to exit ticket and e-certificate is valid until 8 p.m. Jakarta time today only. So any complaint submitted after the designated time will not be responded. Thank you. So So those are the rules. We do hope that all participants will follow the rules. And now today's webinar is rather special, ladies and gentlemen, since we have two speakers who will share their knowledge and experience on raising bilingual children in the digital era. The first speaker will be Bapak Slamet Setiawan, Ph.D., and Ibu Lina Purwaning Hartanti, M.EIL, as the second speaker. Good morning, Pak Slamet and Bu Lina.
Good morning, Bu Eva.
Okay. Right. So should we play the teaser CV? Thank you. Now, dear participants, for the next 90 minutes, Pak Slamet and Ibu Lina will share some theoretical perspectives on challenges and opportunities of raising bilingual children in digital era. Also, some of the practical experience dealing with the same topic, which I believe you will find very interesting and informative. Very well. Without further ado, allow me to invite our first speaker today, Bapak Slamet Setiawan. Pak Slamet, can we start now?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Eva. Thank you for the committee to have me here to share, some experiences, also some knowledge about, raising a bilingual children in the digital era. Bu Eva, I know that you have a new baby, correct?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. What languages do you plan that your daughter will acquire?
Well,
How many languages?
obviously, I'm going to try to have my baby speak in more than Bahasa Indonesia.
All right.
So English would be great for her.
Okay. Yeah. Dear participants, Bapak Ibu, today we will bring you a very special topic that is raising bilingual children in a digital era. Please allow me to share my slide. Yeah. Why I say that it is very interesting topic today, because if we see the previous topics, mostly related to the English teaching, education things. But today, I consider that you will play two roles, as a teacher and mostly as a parent. It is obvious when you are a teacher that you always teach English to your students with a very great effort. No matter what, you concentrate and focus, devote yourself to educate the children around, countries, Indonesia, in order that they can speak English. Now the question is, what about our children, your children? Do you plan that they also be able to speak English or other languages besides Indonesian as national language, or probably other regional languages? We have to consider it. The second reason why I picked this topic is our children today is digital native children. They are considered as a Z generation. It's quite different from us. We are very old-fashioned people that is not non-digital native. I'll bring you to the memory back when we were a kid at that time. We still have a time to play with other children doing go back through door atau opak sotor, for example, cumpritan, telian, playing drama under the moonlight or the full moon. But today's children, if you come, and go to the village, for example, you will never see the children are playing on the ground, on the streets. They enjoy their time, playing with their gadgets. And even sometimes we as a parents, before there is a gadget, when our children seems, disturb us, when we are busy, and then we will direct them to, okay, watch a TV, or maybe PlayStations or whatever. But now the children are enjoying the gadgets. So this is the reasons why the topic is interesting. Once again, that today we share in common that we are English teachers. At least we can speak English. Now, the big questions, what is bilingual then? And then number two, can our children be bilingual or multilingual while the target language is not the community language? And if it is so, then how? The third question, which language should we introduce first? This is very important. It's very important. We have to consider very carefully what language should we introduce first to our children. And then number four, we have to have some precautions. What precautions should we take in raising bilingual children? Will they experience psychological problems? And then the fifth question is, what is our role as parents? Dear participants, I will not address all the questions because I will share with Lina today, and we will share some information with you. That's why during the QA sessions later, that you are not only encouraged to ask questions, but also share your experiences as the teachers. In these big questions, and pay attention to the red color, that I use, or we use, our children. We introduce, we take our role. Why? Again, this is our matter. This is the issue that we consider very important to prepare our younger generation, our own children, to be bilingual or multilingual. Now, I would like to address part one that is bilingual. What is it? Now, beforehand, I would like you to watch this video clip. It's very short, and then try to compare between the two.
Can I ask your name?
My name is Stephanie. Why is that?
What is your surname?
Tumangor.
Okay. Can you tell?
Cooking?
Yeah.
Okay. One day, I was the baby I like to cooking, and my mom is so happy to be me because I'm a baby. Where I'm baby, I'm cooking every day.
What do you cook?
A cake, a love cake.
Love cake.
I give me with my mom. If my mom happy to be me. My mom is so happy. My dad is so happy because I like to cooking and my mom. My mom is so beautiful.
Really?
It have flower in the ears. Mama, aku jangan foto, cuma di videoin. Ini di videoin. Ini lucu kan? $1,000. Hear it on us television. We're here to watch our new vision. It's Chalky from her new fighter winnering. She's the pink. She's the gang, and she's the cutest. She's eating Maribel's food, and she loves and distracted. She's the Maggie, and this is the way she wants. She's eating all of Maribel's food, and it all wanna be gone forever. The food always wanna be hobbies, and her prize winning it not so bad. The sound of the bracket is her special house. Look at this. Look at this face jumbo. She's laughing at us. She's cute and bye-bye. Ourselves is really cool. Vision are not cool. So win the title away. We're super good. She's playing on her cage. Oh my goodness. It's all happy. Mama. Happy, mama. And she's still falling. Look at this. Look at this.
Okay. Bapak Ibu, if we compare between the two, the first is Heavenly. You know, when the picture was taken, she was 5 years old. It's from Batak. And then the second movie or video clip is Bella, 5.5 years. And then it's Java, is the father, and then the mother is Padang. The question is, can we consider that Heavenly is a bilingual? Well, you know that even though Heavenly speaks, it's not quite, you know, good in grammar, like cooking, and then the grammar is not quite, you know, proper. It is also regarded as bilingual. Why so? You know, I'll come back in a second. Bella is quite different because she speaks quite fluently, even though in the very last speech, she said, it's all habis. It's all habis, mama. Yeah. So I mean, both of them can be considered as a bilingual. Now, let's check the definition of bilinguals. Basically, there are two, you know, types of definition. You know, that there are some linguists have a kind of a polemics, and then they have a different opinion or different definition. That's okay, no problem. But in the left side, Bloomfield, 1933, considers bilingual as the native-like control of two languages. So if you speak Indonesian quite well or fluently, and also speak English quite well and fluently, it can be regarded as native control of two languages, then it's called be a bilingual. The followers, Winrich, Hagen, Debo, Fishman, Klein, M.EIL, you know, follow Bloomfield. They consider that bilingual is when the native-like control of two languages. You know, on the other hand, on the right side, it is not perfect. Halliday, for example, in the 1968, bilingualism is recognized wherever a native speaker of one language make use of second language, however partially or imperfectly. So from this definition, I will continue. McManara, for example, is also defined having some second language skills in one of the 4 language skills. You know, sometimes we know that our friend, for example, you know, can understand, you know, the people speaking, you know, different language, but they cannot reply it. You know, many cases like that happens. And Mackay and Debo, you know, call this type of bilingual is passive knowledge. You know that even though they do not understand the grammars of the language or they cannot speak the language, but they understand what the people said to him or to her. And Romani, define a minimal definition of bilingualism. So this is a kind of polemics among the linguists, and well, it is not quite matter for us. The point actually is how can we make our children bilingual? Now, participants, the second agenda or the second part of my presentation is role of home language. Why is it important? And then what kind of rules that we can introduce, that we can apply at home? Here it is. Romani, 1989, gave some prescriptions. Number one is OPOL, that is one person, one language. This strategy or this way is also introduced by Michael Klein, Australian linguist. He called not one person, but one language, but he called one parent, one language. It's the same thing. Why I ask whoever what languages and then how many languages that she can teach to the children. Hello, somebody speaking.
Apparently somebody is not setting their microphone on mute.
Please do. I'm sorry, I beg you, please. Yeah. Now, the question actually is not only for whoever, but for you all. How many languages do you plan your children to master? The answer is yours. We can make our children to be, bilinguals or multilingual depending on the rules that you apply at home. For example, one person, one language. The father speaks English, and then the mother speaks, for example, Indonesian, and then the grandfather, the grandmother speaks, regional languages or Japanese, for example. It's perfectly well. And this rule will be addressed later by Lina, and you will be given some examples of it. But I would like to tell you, my relative lives in Germany now. To the father, that the children speak only Indonesian, while to the mother speaks German. And then when they come to Indonesia, the children can speak, both of languages quite well. It's my surprise for me because I do not expect that they can speak Indonesian quite well. In fact, when I asked that, they apply a policy or rules that it's one person, one language. Now the second, non-dominant home language. The language comes from neither mother nor father hometown, but it is their community language. And parents take a role to teach the language, although it is not their native language. What is the examples? Well, for example, the father is a Sundanese and the mother is Balinese and live in Java. That the father Japanese is not the father's language, it's not the mother's language, but the parents teach Japanese. So that is a non-dominant home language. And then the scenario number 3, or the rule number 3, children understand and learn other outside home language, which is not their community language, and this is very important, one of the parents' language. Now the examples is Javanese and Balinese live in Bali, and then the parents speak or teach Japanese. Japanese is not the community language, but one of the parents' language. And then number 4 is very interesting. Children understand and learn outside language, which is not their community language, and it is also not both parents' language. What is the examples? Well, for example, it happens in Indonesia. Both parents are Indonesian, and for example, father is a Japanese, the mother is Sundanese, but the children learn English and the parents taught English to the children. So it's perfectly happens in our situation, our context. That is number 4. And then number 5, another case of one person, one language. Each parent address the kid's parents' different language, even though it is not both parents' native language. What is the scenario? Okay, the father is a Balinese, can speak Portuguese, for example, and then the mother is a Patagonese, can speak English, and then the father speaks Portuguese and the mother speaks English. So that is the situation of non-native parents. And number 6, again, this will be addressed again later by Lina. Both parents are raised as bilingual, and each of them uses more than one language in addressing the kids. So there is no specific rules. You know, the father can speak English and the mother can speak English. And also the mother, for example, can speak Portuguese. You know that the parents provide and give the exposures in many languages at the same time. Yeah, I will address you what is the benefit and the weakness of it later. All right, now, which language? Very important. Why? Because there are many considerations before applying these rules, or what language should we introduce to our parents for the first time. You know, home domain is very important and very crucial, domain in terms of language maintenance. Ibu Bapak, home is the last bastion of a subordinate language in competition with a dominant language of wider currency. It's from Dorian and Kovinsami and Nambia. I'll give you the examples. Today's hello. Today's situation is happening in our country. I will address that the eastern part of Indonesia, many languages, many regional languages died out. It's extinct. Punah. Ada banyak, many languages in Papua, many languages in Maluku, and also in Sulawesi. There are many languages died out today. Why? Simply because, hello, somebody is not muting the mic. Please do, please.
Ibu, kindly mute your microphone.
We are checking on it.
Pak Slamet, can you help us?
Yes, we are checking on it, sir. Yeah, I think from the same account, we are going to remove the account. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Slamet.
Thank you. Yeah, the home is very important. I mentioned earlier that many languages, regional languages in the eastern part of Indonesia died out. And if you go to the world, Australian languages, Aboriginal languages died out, and also Indian American languages are died out also, simply because the home domain is defeated by the dominant language, that is English. Here also, if we do not take part in maintaining and introducing our children with our regional languages, and I believe that regional languages will sooner die. And now, many evidence. Japanese, for example, or Sundanese, for example, or maybe Madurese, Balinese, children now don't have probably good commands in regional languages. They tend to use Indonesian language. Why is it so? Well, there are many reasons. Here is the most important among parents. Why? Because their attitudes toward the regional languages, toward a certain languages,
Pak Slamet, you are in the mute.
Sorry?
Yes, sir.
I'll come back here. Sorry for that. Can it be seen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bapak Ibu, this is very important. Attitude. If you have a negative attitude toward your language, then sooner or later the language will extinct and then will die out. Why? Because there is no effort. Untuk apa bahasa regional, for example? It doesn't have any promising future. It is not language for communication, and so on and so forth. If this attitude is possessed by anybody, then the regional languages or whatever the language in question will be extinct. Now, another example is this is the example, rapid language shift. Most rural adults strive to speak only English to their children and forbid them to speak Patois in their presence. These widespread language socialization practices are contributing to a rapid language shift from Patois to varieties of English. This is the examples. Again, the last battlefield of maintaining our regional languages is home domain. Yeah. And then, this is important, types of bilinguals. How can we introduce, languages to our children? There are many types. Simultaneous bilingual, someone whose two languages are present from the onset of speech. So since the baby tries to speak, parents are trying to introduce more than one language. Even sometimes the scientists and also the linguists and also the people, or parents basically, introduced the language which is planned to be mastered by the children, since the baby is in the womb during the pregnancy time. So simultaneous bilingual means that, the baby is introduced, more than one language. And then early bilingual, someone who has acquired two languages early in childhood. It's not from the onset, but in the early childhood, and then the parents introduced the children with more than one language. Successive bilingual, someone whose second language is added at some stage after the first has begun to develop. Now, this is commonly happening in our society. The baby, until the age of going to schools, the parents introduce with the Japanese, and then introduce with Indonesian, and then English. So there's a kind of phases, steps, successive bilingual. So one language is mastered, even though it's not quite well, and then added by another language and another language. Secondary bilingual, someone whose second language has been added to a first language via instruction. It's also the same as Indonesian context in terms of English. Home, Indonesian and Japanese or regional languages, and then at school, the instruction, English is introduced via the education. Incipient bilingual, someone who is at the early stages of bilingualism, where one language is not fully developed. So it is not quite settled for the first language and then added by another language. So these are the types. Okay. And then things to consider. What can we do then for as the parents to assist our our children to be bilinguals or multilinguals? There is a do and don't. Bapak Ibu, Bu Lina will demonstrate the way she accompanies his child, and also some video later. But mostly we have to give some exposures. Let the children listen and imitate. There are many parents before going to bed, they read the story in English, and then the children will try to imitate. Well, for example, you have a flashcard or maybe some other medias, and then you read the English. There's a frog, for example, and then the child will say frog, book and book. Practice and practice, that's number 2. Well, again, parents, you are the English teachers or practitioners, you can speak English, then you will be the models of your children. Let's practice with them in a very simple way. Bapak Ibu, the point of this is there is no, pressures. Enjoy the situation. Children like to play. So, well, introduce English or whatever language that you want to your children to master, then try to introduce it, again, without any pressure. Number 3 is applying home language rules. Whatever the rule that you want to apply, but again, that I suggest in order not to make children confused, then OPPO probably is a good way to try. But later you will see some opinions of the people who has already successful in educating the children using more than one language. And then number 4, again, as in the digital era, that you have to provide proper media. You have to select. You have to decide what should the children watch, what should the children listen. Then it will be very effective. You know that one of my friends said that I learn English from the games. I learn English from reading. I learn English from songs. There are many ways, to get the language or to acquire language, depending, the mood and also the interests. Do not force the children like what you like, but in fact that they do not like. Number 5, expose good correct language. You are as a model, try to use the language properly and correctly. Otherwise, it will be recorded by children and then they're produced by the children wrongly. Bapak Ibu, sometimes children produce and speak English or maybe another language incorrectly. In both grammar or context. That they cannot apply quite well what language or what term that they should do, that they should use in particular situation. And the 6th, and it is rare to see in our community, that is build a community. In a certain time, for example, if you have a link, okay, a family who try to teach English to the parent, to the children, and then they can actually get together. You will be very surprised that children can speak, languages without our knowing. This has happened when I studied in New Zealand at that time, when I interviewed the parents. What language do the children usually use when they meet each other? Among children. The parents said, well, Indonesian. But I witnessed myself that they do not a single Indonesian word at all. They speak English anytime, anywhere, when they are meeting each other. So build a community. If you have, friends who have the same plan with you, then please then invite and then get together and then let the children speak among themselves. Now, the don't one is don't do code mixing. There are 2 meanings in this part. Try to give English or language expressions in the full expressions, but do not code mix. For example, let's have makan siang, for example. No, let's have a lunch. So it's a complete one. Why? Because it will ruin the children's knowledge about how to construct a good language. And number 2 is don't be too ambitious. Do not expect that the children can speak, language that you want in a very short time. It takes time, Bapak Ibu. It takes time. Why? Because the children have their own world and everybody is unique. The capacity of language development is also different. Bapak Ibu, you know that sometimes the children can walk, in a very early time, but speak a bit late. Another child speak very quickly, but, the ability to walk is quite late. Again, the development of the language is also different. Do not consider that all children will develop the language at the same time. So that's why don't panic. That's number 5. Don't panic. Hang on. Every children will have a different pace of development or language development. So if they do not speak this, that, as your expectation, be patient. Don't panic. And then don't give up. Parents as the models. That's why we have to try to find out a way, by which the children can be interested in, and then we can provide some media, some ways then to make the children enjoy learning. Later, you will get some examples.
Excuse me,
yes.
I'm afraid we only have 2 minutes left before.
Yes, definitely. I still have one number here. Don't practice a baby talk. Bapak Ibu, the baby talk. Sometimes we speak without conscious saying, anak itu apa ini le? For example, anak ganteng ini anak itu apa le? No, it's not good. We have to give a very good example. Do not talk a baby talk. Yeah. Well, I think some tips. The earlier the children acquire the target language, the better the result will be. Bapak Ibu, if you notice my pronunciation, my way of speaking, Japanese is here and there. My English is Japanese language. But if you see Bella, in the second video, you know that the English is quite good. The way to speak, pronunciation is good. Why? Because the earlier the better. Yeah, the earlier the better. Well, whoever, it's just in time. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Pak Slamet. That was really interesting. I've got several things that I need to note about teaching new language to children, especially for infants, maybe for my kids, and I believe for some of us here.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just go straight to Ibu Lina, if Ibu Lina is ready.
Okay, thank you, Bu Eva, and also Pak Slamet. So, Bapak Ibu, here I just want to continue what Pak Slamet has explained and also give some examples and what can we do as parents to teach or also to accompany our children to be bilingual or even multilingual. So let me share my screen. Okay, so can you see the screen now? Yeah. Actually, this is related to what Pak Slamet said. He previously mentioned that nowadays, most children, prefer to play their gadgets rather than playing kobak sodor, rather than playing Monopoly. I still remember that I experienced Enkley. So with this kind of situation, what can we do as parents to make this activity beneficial for our children? So that is our big question actually, because we cannot deny right now children start from very early age, they are familiar to their gadgets. I don't know, it's because of the their needs, or their parents, sometimes the parents let them to use their gadgets because the parents are busy, so that their children can play with their gadgets. So that is our big question. How can we as parents can help or can make this activity into a good or a beneficial for our children? After this, I will play video, and in this video, these children are, I can say, they are early bilingual. So later on, Bapak Ibu can watch how they say or they speak the language.
Mami, dia tenang. Bu, sama boleh kak gini naik gitu empatnya. Oh, kak gini. Sama atas kak gini. I know you're going to block it. But it's not gonna. Don't put it there because I'm going to win. Because there's already 3 here.
Yeah, so no way I'm going to put it there.
I know. I'm going to put it there. And you can block me. Because you want it to. It's okay. Oh!
Oh, sorry.
Mami, dia tenang. I'm going to put it there. And you can block me. Because you want it to. It's okay. Oh!
Okay, so actually I'm trying to pause the video, but it turns out that I'm going to the next slide. Yeah, from this part of the video, we can see that this boy uses code mixing. So actually he learns the language, he learns English, like what Pak Slamet said, in the do, the first point of do, he learns English from listening or by listening to the native, and this is not the real native, but actually he learns from video, he learns from songs. So that is why if we pay attention to his language or his English, he can imitate the language not only in the pronunciation, but also in the context how the language is used. So actually, he is my son, and I never teach English to him. And to my surprise, he just directly learned the language from what he watched, from what he listened. So I don't know, am I a good mother or not? But in fact, yes, I never, at the beginning of his language acquisition, I never taught him the language. So since he was 3 years old, he started listen to English songs. That is his first phase of knowing English. And then after that, he started to watch movies or videos or YouTube channels, so that by doing those ways, he can acquire his language. So for this boy, for my son, actually we do not apply OPOL like what Pak Slamet said, one person, one language, because actually all of me and my husband, we are bilingual, but we do not force, like what Pak Slamet said, we do not force our children to speak English. So it is like not by design. So, but he knows, this boy knows who the interlocutor is. So, for example, if he talks to me or his father, mostly he will talk with English. But if we talk to his brother, which he knows that his brother cannot speak English well, so he will speak using Bahasa Indonesia. So even though we do not implement or we do not use OPOL, but this kind of adjustment that he makes, he will see who the interlocutor is. And then I will continue this video.
Mommy, dia tenang.
Do you remember where did you know the police car, the what is it, the truck, the ambulance, and what is
And
the
the
other
taxi.
one? The taxi. Yeah.
I know the taxi from a video, and I know the police car from a game, and I know taxi from a game, and I know the truck from real life.
Truck from real life.
Yeah.
Taxi from game.
Yeah. No, taxi from videos.
Oh, from video. What video? Do you remember?
Yeah. Pressing play.
Preston Play. What
Yeah.
about the what is it? Ambulance and police car.
From games.
What game?
Roblox.
Roblox.
Okay, so like what I said before, he learned directly from the English sources. So he got or he acquired a lot of English vocabulary from videos, games, and then movies. And like what he said, he has preferences on the channels, on the games, and also on the videos that he watched. And again, to my surprise, without me teaching him how to speak with good grammar or how to speak with a good pronunciation, and that is actually the result. So there is no interference from me, and he was good, and he is good in imitating what he listens from the videos or the language exposures that he got. I'm sorry. Is it on the screen now?
Mami, dia ada 6. Bu, sama boleh kan?
Both of them.
Yeah.
Tons of games inside.
F and robots. Yeah, children, a muffin and a book and a I screwed it up. A turtle.
Once again.
A bag, a tire, and a muffin, and a book, and a turtle.
Do you know their names in bahasa Indonesia?
I don't know. I only know bahasa English. I mean English.
Okay, so here, because from the first time what he knew is the vocabulary in English. So unfortunately, a lot of vocabularies or a lot of things that he knows in English, he doesn't know the word in Bahasa Indonesia. So maybe this is we can call as the negative effect probably for our own language, because it will relate to the language maintenance. But I don't know whether we say it is a good or a negative impact, but the fact is that right now he knows more English vocabulary rather than in Bahasa Indonesia. So sometimes this leads to difficulty when he is in the school, online school, what I mean here, and the teacher and also the friends are talking in a specific vocabulary in Bahasa Indonesia and he doesn't understand it. So again, I do not know whether this is the positive or the negative impact, but yeah, we have to know these consequences. Okay, the next.
How do we raise our trilingual children? That I'm going to share how we do it in our family, but this doesn't mean that this is the way to do it. There are many ways how you can support your children to become multilingual, and maybe there are things that we do that do not fit to your family. Feel free to not do them, or maybe there are things that you are doing that we haven't picked up yet. So if you have a new idea or something that has worked out very well in your family, please comment it. I would love to read that. I'm going to share this with you also because I've been having some parents asking me how we do it and how it's been working out with our kids. So let's get started. So first of all, we use the OPOL method, one person, one language at home. And we do that very strictly. I mean, my husband and I put a lot of emphasis on speaking our language and not switching. So we really pay attention to that. We basically never switch to another language unwillingly. But because I grew up already bilingual, I practice Swiss German and German with my children as well, but only under certain circumstances and wearing things on my head, like a hat, to visualize and make it very clear that now we're switching the language.
Okay, so this is different with the first example. In this example, it seems that it is by design from this girl's parents. The parents apply OPOL, like what Pak Slamet mentioned previously. So one person one person uses one language or one person speaks one language to this girl. So, but Bapak Ibu, we only share our experience here. So this is not the only way. So please underline this. This is not the only way that how we can make the children bilingual. So these are only some examples that we can try to our children. Again, one person, one language. The mother speaks Swiss and German, while the father, later on we will see the video, while the father speaks Danish. So here, if the mother talks to the girl or to this little girl, she will use Swiss or German, and for her daddy, he will use Danish. And for this girl, it seems like I told you, it is by design. So the parents strictly use the language without switching, like what the mother said, without switching, and also they will use this in their daily activities in their home domain. So I will continue. So this is the example how the mother speaks to this little girl using Swiss and German.
¡Listo! A ver, enséñame cómo hiciste. ¡Qué bonito! Ah, muy bien. Jetzt machen wir eine falsch.
Eine, wo falsch ist.
Gut.
Der da ist falsch.
Alles falsch. Was steht denn da? Suche die gleiche Figur. Haben wir aber jetzt nicht gemacht. Jetzt tun wir so willkürlich alle hin und jetzt kannst du schieben. Ah, oh, alles falsch. In the same way.
Mami, wie hat der Name?
Okay, so the mother speaks to this small girl or little girl with Swiss and German. Now we can pay attention how this little girl speaks or communicates with her daddy using Danish.
Gut.
Der da ist falsch.
Alles falsch. Was steht denn da? Suche die gleiche Figur. Haben wir aber jetzt nicht gemacht. Jetzt tun wir so willkürlich alle hin und jetzt kannst du schieben. Ah, oh, alles falsch. In the same way, when the father is talking to her, she switches to Danish.
Det chokolade.
Når du har åbnet den, så spiser jeg den, okay?
Ja, og så kan jeg også spise den.
Yeah, so she speaks Danish with his daddy or his father, and then the next video is trying to tell us that actually learning language for children is not it's not a force from the parents, and we should do in a fun or in a relaxed situation?
Time to glasses. Time to use glasses. Where are you now?
I'm going to room.
You are in Yogyakarta.
Yogyakarta.
Yeah.
And I want to get in train.
Yeah, you got train. Come here.
I'm getting train in the Jogja.
Are you happy to be here?
Yes, I'm happy.
Tomorrow we are going to swim in the pool, okay?
Yes.
Do you want?
Yes.
Say I like it so much, Daddy.
Yes. The police.
Yeah, the police in the TV.
Yes. They give our water.
Yes.
Then let's go to
Have you drunk water?
Let's go to English.
Let's go talk English.
Yes.
Okay.
Our phone. What is this?
What is that?
Lamp.
Can you turn off the lamp?
Yes.
Yeah, pull it. Oh, very good. Turn it on. Okay, good. Good. Nice lamp.
Okay, so we cannot push our children to be bilingual or even multilingual, but we can ask them to play with us, to to communicate with English, and just make it as a fun activity. And we can do it while playing, while watching videos, while studying. So this kind of conversation make these children become familiar with the language. So actually, by watching these videos, I'd like to ask, what is actually our role as parents? Can anyone have ideas? What can we do as parents from these videos? Because if we watch or if we pay attention to these videos, all these children are accompanied by his or her parents, or maybe only father or mother. But this is actually our role as parents, so that we need to accompany them, we need to guide them, and be careful, Bapak Ibu, if we let our children, if we let our children connect to internet, we know that there are a lot of movies or videos that are not appropriate for children. So we need to be careful with those contents. So we need to filter the contents. So that is also one of our roles as parents, not only accompanying these children, but also we need to supervise, we need to guide them as well. After this, I'd like to share some successful tips. It's not only from my experience, but it's already it is also from other experiences from a lot of parents, and we can try, or Bapak Ibu can try this to the children, so that we try to make them familiarize, we try to make them familiar with English or with other languages that we want our children to master. So, for example, like Pak Slamet and I already mentioned so many times, we can refer to television. We can refer to English programs and television. Here, one of the examples is, there are two examples here, High Five and Nick Jr. And other than that, we can also try to read English story books, English storybook to our children. The next one here. This is what I already mentioned previously. So when our children access internet or access contents in internet like YouTube, movies, or songs, maybe it's not only about the videos itself, or maybe it's about the language, because sometimes the videos consist or contain harsh languages, for example. So we need to supervise, we need to control, and we need to guide our children.
Okay.
And here, yes?
Bu Lina, excuse me. I would like to remind you that you have 3 minutes left.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Eva, for reminding me. And also, this is from another video. So here, the experience from Ibu Irma Sihombing, her child when she was 2.5 years old, this child had already spoke English in a good pronunciation, because it's the same experience with my son. This little girl learned directly from television, Disney cartoon, Disney Junior. And also, if we talk about English exposures, we can divide into these two, the non-digital exposures and also the digital exposures. So the non-digital exposures, we can read books, for example, to our children, and also while playing puzzle, we can communicate with the children. Here, what I mean here is the manual puzzle, not the digital puzzle, and also community support. This has been mentioned by Pak Slamet previously, and he already explained about community support and country visit. Pak Slamet had also mentioned an example of his niece about living in other country and how she or he acquired the language, and also games. Games here we can play like Monopoly, and then we communicate with English, and also we can use English version Monopoly, so that we can introduce the vocabulary to our children as well. And if we talk about digital exposures, I and Pak Slamet already talked a lot about the sources that we can use to teach our children the language. So, for example, in ebooks, puzzles, cartoon movies, songs, YouTube, games, and also video. And these are some examples of songs, movies, or YouTube channels and games that we can refer to as parents if we want to teach our children English, because most of them, or I think all of them are in English. It's because by listening to the native, the children can imitate the language well. So most of those songs, film, and YouTube channels and games can help the children to acquire good language. I think this is the last of my slide, but the last but not least, I'm going to show this. So yeah, Bapak Ibu, actually this is only a joke that this is an example, one of the benefits that if we can master another language. So Bapak Ibu, thank you for your attention. Those are our presentation about raising bilingual children in this digital era. So Bu Eva, over it to you.
Okay, thank you Ibu Lina, and thank you again Pak Slamet Setiawan for sharing with us this valuable information, valuable knowledge about raising bilingual children in this digital era. Bapak Ibu, as of now, we have already collected some interesting questions. For a fact, in fact, we have several questions, a lot of them, and I believe that even if we want to answer all of them, then we don't have time for that. So please allow me to select only a handful of them from both YouTube chat and the Telegram group or the Zoom chat. Sorry, my bad. Okay, let me see. Okay, there is this question. Okay, excuse me. Okay, there is this question from Ibu Widyadara from Akademi Farmasi Surabaya. The question is, I believe this is addressed to Pak Slamet. Sir, what do you think about this statement? I'd read this statement, but I'm not sure where I found this statement. So the statement goes like this: a child who learns bilingual in early age usually will face speech delay. That will be the first question. So would you like to answer it right away, Pak Slamet?
Unmute.
Or yes, Pak Slamet.
Unmute Pak Slamet.
Seems to be. Okay, Kamati, could you unmute Pak Slamet? Right. Maybe Bu Lina? Maybe Bu Lina can help answer this question instead, and then we can get back to Pak Slamet when he is ready.
Yeah.
Kamati, please unmute Pak Slamet.
Pak Slamet.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Bu Eva, could you please?
Okay, I'm in.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. There are a lot of questions, Bu Eva, Bu Lina.
Yeah.
I have already written down 10 questions already. 10 questions. Yeah. From Ibu Nur Cahyani Khalil, she has 3 questions. And then Bu Kurniawati, Bu Winah Yumustiko, Pak Siswo, your 2 questions. Ibu Afi Nikmah, Ibu Nurjayani Khalil, ya, Ibu Ulia Subhan, kemudian SW Anwar, Pak Anwar, and then Putia Saputri. I also have Ibu Safira Fajarini and Pak Mariono Isas. Mariono Isas, yes. Well, I'll try to answer all questions. I'll try to answer all questions. All right. Bapak Ibu, there are some questions related to speech delay. Well, that's true that there are many facts that children experience speech delay simply because of introducing, more than one languages at the same time. Yes, it is also there are some researches as well showing this fact. That's why we have to apply a very correct rules. Bapak Ibu, somebody who knows the capacity of our children, the language development of our children, are ourselves as a parents. For example, Eva now has a baby and she knows exactly how, to introduce the language and then when, and then in what time. In theory, the earlier age is the better the result will be. Here is from the childhood until, one expert said until 13 years old. Another expert will say until 8 years old. Well, no matter. But the earlier the better. Why? Because the organ of speech is still flexible. It's very flexible, not like us. We learn English, for example, during our adult time. So here and there is a kind of in language interference. That's why the earlier the better. In terms of speech delay, one of the cause is confusion, language confusion. Why? Because look, what language should I speak to my mother? What language should I speak to my father? Why? Because the parents do not apply the right rules to the children. If Paul, for example, is very clear, it's very specific. The mother will speak English, the father will speak, for example, a German, the father will speak Indonesian, and then the mother will speak English. So it's very clear. Michael Klein, is very successful in bringing up her daughter to be successful and perfect bilinguals. Why? Because his wife always speaks English to their daughter, and then Michael Klein himself speaks always German. So again, if we apply, OPOL, or one parent, one language, or one person, one language, then it will reduce, children's confusion in terms of the use of the language. Why? Because, okay, this is my father, and then I will talk specific language used by the father. Oh, this is my mother. My mother used this language, and I will use this language to my mother. Grandparents, for example, use Japanese. Oh, okay, I will speak Japanese to the parents. But again, it should be applied consistently. Lina already mentioned earlier that Naufal, her child, a bit, get confused when he is at school because English, proficiency is better in mentioning, some objects. If we watch on the video, just Lina played, do you know Indonesian? No, I only know English. So that's the examples. Again, if we apply strictly OPOL, meaning one parent, one language, it will reduce the speech delay. Bapak Ibu, don't panic when the children experience speech delay. Why? Because it is the process of, recognizing what language should I speak to the particular interlocutors. He or she needs a time, to adjust their mind. Okay, that's a speech delay. And then how can, the children can speak, for example, regional language while in the community, or at schools, speak English or Indonesian well. Again, by the rules, the family rules, language use will make the children, feel comfortable to use it. Make it balanced. There are many parents who do not apply the rules of the language, and then they get a problem in the society. That's why let the children, learn, study and also get exposures from us. But again, it should be very consistently. Which one, vocabulary or grammar? Well, it goes at the same time, actually. Why? Because while we are, introducing, for example, orange or oranges, and then the parent always put in the sentence, well, let's eat oranges. Let's buy oranges. This is oranges. So it can go, side by side or all together.
Excuse me, Pak Slamet.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you. I believe that you still want to answer some of the questions, but there are 3 participants here who would like to share their experience in dealing with raising bilingual children. Ibu Rina, Ibu Anita, and Ibu, hold on a second.
Ulfa.
Ulfa, yes. Can we have them?
Yes, please. Then, yes, please.
All right. So, who should we begin with? Should we begin with Ibu Anita, maybe?
Yes, Bu Anita, it's okay. Bu Anita, please, too. The speaker. Bu Anita.
Help Bu Anita to unmute.
Okay, I'm in, sir.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much for the time. Okay, thank you very much for the time. I want to share my experience. My daughter is 4 years and 6 months now, and at home she spends much time watching television, YouTube, or sometimes playing game with me. And related to watching, she watches television more than watching YouTube. And she likes watching cartoon, especially those in Disney Junior, such as Princess Sophia, Fancy Nancy Clancy, PG Max, Mira the Royal Detective. Yeah, maybe some of you have also this kind of Disney. And the language used in this cartoon is in Bahasa Indonesia, although once in a week, the film will show the English version. Initially, I didn't pay attention to the influence of the language used by the figure will affect my daughter's language use or acquisition. After some times, I just realized that my daughter often uses standard language of Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa Baku, just that. Used in a formal situation, for example, like this.
Interesting,
Ya ampun, aku tidak percaya ini. Bagaimana ini bisa terjadi? Or something like this. Mami, bagaimana jika Mami mengambil gelasnya, lalu aku akan mengambil airnya?
Wow, interesting.
Or in a single word such as terserah, melelahkan, just that. So it is surprising when we heard the sentence or the word that she used, mostly standard language of Bahasa Indonesia, because her father and I seldom or almost never taught or talked to her in standard language. However, by the time then we realized that vocabulary or sentence formation used were language used in the cartoon, such as "aku tidak percaya ini" is mostly used by the characters of Nancy and by the characters of Sophia.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Anita. It's a good example, but a different situation, Bapak Ibu. Probably your focus is, for example, children learning English, but in this case, Bu Anita's case here is children try to use frozen or standard Indonesian language. So it's a kind of variations of Indonesian language. Yeah, that's true. Again, copying from the characters on television. So this is the power of digital era. Not only the books, not only parents, but Bu Anita surprised herself, knowing that the children can apply, the standard Indonesian language, even though the parents never use in daily communication. Thank you, Vanita. It's very amazing, examples. Yeah, thank you.
Maybe I can add a little bit more. It's not only the vocabulary or the language. Usually, the children also use a very correct accent. So, for example, that standard language, I'm pretty sure that it's different with his or her daily accent when he or she speaks. So he or she will directly imitate to what he or she listens.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Who, Eva?
Yes, okay. Thank you. What an interesting story. Okay. Well, this actually inspires me to do, with similar things with my own baby. Anyway,
Okay.
so let's just continue with the second participant who would like to share here. Purina, I believe so.
Yeah, Purina.
Okay, Purina, are you ready? Yes, please, Purina.
Unmute, Purina. Purina, can you help her to unmute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for the chance for me. Bapak Ibu, I may have a little bit different experience from Ibu Anita. My experience is related to the use of English language with my children. So I started to introduce my children to English once they knew the language, the first language. Well, Pak Slamet mentioned it as a successive bilingualism.
Yes, yes.
What I introduced them for the first time were some stories or some movies like Curious George and Dora the Explorer. Yes, both movies means a lot to my children because, well, Dora is a Hispanic girl speaking more than one language, speaking English and Spanish, and this is what make my daughter got motivated to use more than one language. Like when Dora can say "Amigo Grande" for teman besarku, then my daughter will imitate to use that my big fat friend, for instance. Nah, seperti itu. And then my daughter and my son now, they like to assess some movies or YouTube channels that they like. And for today, my girl or my daughter like to listen to Spotify, from which she learns how to say English words more fluently. While my little one, 5-year-old, like to watch Blippi. It is also mentioned by Ibu Lina, Blippi official channel on YouTube. The girl produces more English language than the boy, but the boy will respond to some questions in English. They enjoy Spotify or Blippi without any translations. All of them are in English, and it make me surprised for sometimes they are producing English without my expectation, like "Mommy, wait," or "Mommy, hold on," or "Mommy, I'll be downstairs, don't
That's
go,"
good.
something
Great.
like that. And well, besides digital resources, I also provide them with some books written in English, of course, in their library. So sometimes I can read also.
Purina, one question for you.
Yes,
you mentioned earlier that there is a kind of a different response from your daughter to your sons. So, I mean, the daughter is more active, right?
Right.
Okay, good.
I see the difference.
Yes. Now, this is also a question from Bu Nur Cahyani Khalil, actually. Why the boy responds not quite good as compared to the girl? Because the girl is very, active in producing English. The answer is, it can be seen from psycholinguistics. Yeah, psycholinguistics. Why? You know that from there, from Allah, from our Creator, the girl is given more linguistics portion to the man, to the boy. Yeah, if you see that, then you will understand that the boy he is a bit, calm, a bit quiet, And it happens in daily activity. You know, the mother will speak a lot, but the father will remain a bit silent. I'm sorry to say that. But again, that if we see from the psycholinguistics, that's really happens. That the portion of the linguistics, you know, the girl is greater than the boy. Yeah. Thank you, Burina. Bu Eva.
Yes, thank you, Burina, and also thank you, Pak Slamet, for explaining a lot about the questions. Right. So we're going to move to Ibu Ulfa, if Ibu Ulfa is still here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bapak Ibu, I have a little experience with my two sons. Yeah, I have two sons now. The first son is in 11 years old and the second son is 9 years old. And what Burina said is really for my son is different. Yeah. For my first son, I introduce English. This is not really introducing, but I usually share reading English story, English story, especially when we are going to bed. Yeah, still they were childhood. I usually translate it, but at the picture there are some picture and also some word, and usually I will mention this word in English, and sometimes they imitate. For daily communication, I do not use English really. I just introduce or make exposure for my children. And for my first son, it's become his habit to read. And now reading English book is usual for him. And this is my surprise, even though for him, he is not really talkative. Even when I ask him sometime in English, they just answer in short answer, okay, yes, or maybe, no, I do not know it. I don't do that, sometimes like this. And never trying to tell the stories orally. But when I find in his computer, he write comic in
wonderful.
Yeah, jadi
in English.
Kind of comic, and this is using English. Let's go to Antarctic. Oh, it's cool. And this is using sometimes using sound, sometimes using written dialogue.
What about the second child, please?
And for the second son, he is more active and like singing. Even though he likes to read book, usually he prefer to tell the story that he had read. For the example, he usually read and prefer to read a popular series in the and tell to, okay, I see in United States there are some. He usually
tell the story. Tell the story, right? Yeah. Okay. Good.
And prefer to sing a song.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Usually, when he is taking bath, he will sing loudly and using popular song, English song.
Okay. Good. It's a good point, Bu Ulfa. Bapak Ibu, I'm sorry. Can I interrupt? Can I stop you because we are running out of the time? Sorry, Bu Eva. Bapak Ibu, even though this is a good lesson. Even though Bu Ulfa has two sons, but the way to treat the children, it's quite different. The first is using reading, and also some exposures. But the second here is singing a song. The two characters of the children are totally different. The way to develop is different. The way to learn and acquire English is also different. So then, please try to understand each individual of your children. Thank you, Bu Ulfa.
So actually, Bu Ulfa's experience is almost the same with mine. I have two sons. And Naufal is my youngest son, and the other one is Mirza, and he is older. When he was still a child, I also read some books before he went to bed, and it was until I left him to school. Yeah, I left him to Australia, but I don't know. the result
It's different.
is different with Naufal. Yeah, the result is different. So his language acquisition is not developed well. This is the other way around with his younger brother. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bu Lina. And thank you, Pak Slamet. And dear participants, finally we've come to the end of today's webinar. What an interesting question and answer session. I'd say we need to make a podcast about this to answer the whole questions. Because I believe that there are more questions that we need to address, really.
Yes.
Bapak Ibu, again, thank you for our speakers today for sharing their knowledge and practice with us. And also, I thank you to all of you, dear colleagues, who have joined our webinar today. Now, I would like to remind you that the exit ticket is already shared on our Zoom group chat. Kindly look them up and excuse me. Okay. All right. So it's available on your Zoom chat room, the exit ticket. Make sure to fill out the exit ticket and write correct name and email address, please. This is very important because we need to be sure that the exit ticket will be sent to the valid email address. Okay. The link for exit ticket will only be valid for 1 hour. That is until 1 p.m. And after you fill in your exit ticket, please check your email within 5 to 10 minutes after you submit them. And if you find any trouble, with the exit ticket or with the e-certificate, please submit your complaint right away. We will only wait for the complaints until 3 p.m. Jakarta time today. So please be informed about this. All right. And now, last but not least, allow me to invite all of you to join the next webinar series on the 5th of August, I believe so, with the title Psychology in Literature.
So, Eva, can I make a last statement?
Of course, Pak.
Okay.
Yes, please do.
Bapak Ibu, we spend a lot of time. We devote ourselves. We spend our energy, try to educate our, students. The students at schools. But sometimes we neglect our children. That's why this is a kind of a wake-up call. Plan your children in acquiring language. We have to do some efforts, no matter where you are. That facilities are also available, and you have a great effort to help our children. Prepare the children and also prepare your students at the same time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Slamet, and thank you, dear participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.